Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be attempting some underwater photography. I have my Aquatech body that they sent to me and I'm very excited to test it out with some mermaid shots. So let's get right into it. Before we get into this video, I would love if you subscribe to my channel and click the little bell to not miss any of my future videos. And let's get right into it. For those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I always wanted to try underwater photography. It's been like a little dream of mine. But being in Ireland and not having access to swimming pools and so on, it was kind of hard for me to justify buying a gear that is probably close to $2,000. And then I came to Bali and I was like, you know what better opportunity will I have than to actually, kind of try and test it out here. So I ended up contacting the guys at Aquatech and they were super helpful and they were happy to send me their Canon 5D Mark IV case to test out. And that is it here. I'm going to be talking about it in a second a tiny bit more. So yeah, they sent it to me with this port, which basically fits a 50mm lens or 35, 28 and so on. They're the shorter lenses. And, they let me test it out for the last few months, which I'm super grateful for. As I said, this gear is really expensive. Aquatech is the top company in the world producing those cases. So I knew I was in safe hands. Phil at Aquatech was super helpful as well to kind of guide me through the process. Because as I said, I don't have a lot of experience with water. I'm not a diver. I've never really taken underwater photos before. So I kind of was trying to get any help I could get. But to get right into it, there's a few things that you need to consider when trying underwater photography. Any of your lenses are going to get magnified times 1.5, I think. So basically that means if you have a 50mm lens, you're going to end up having an 85mm underwater. So the same with like 35, you'll end up having a 50. So I personally only have a 50mm 1.4, which is not an ideal situation because a lot depends on water clarity as well. That's another thing that Phil pointed out to me, that a lot of the time, even though if you're looking at the pool and the waters look super clear, it doesn't necessarily mean that it actually is. Usually if you go into the water and let's say you have sunscreen on or something, that's going to affect the water clarity as well. So there's a lot of things that kind of come into that equation. And if the water isn't clear, your images are not going to turn out super clear as well. So last week, Irene Rudnyk visited me from Calgary. She was here for a week and we were just going around the island taking photos. We ended up shooting with this model and she said that she was going to bring her mermaid tail. And we were like, okay, that's interesting. And it turns out that she's a professional mermaid. She works for a business that basically kind of takes people around on boats and they let you dive with the mermaids and take photos with them and so on. So I thought that she would be a really good candidate because she knows how to stay underwater, she knows how to look graceful underwater and so on. So anyway, we ended up shooting at this beautiful waterfall. Irene will have a behind the scenes footage from that and you can see it on her channel. I will link it down below. We ended up going to a swimming pool in our villa afterwards and just taking a few photos. Irene was kind enough to borrow me this beautiful pink gown and I thought that it would look really, really pretty underwater. It had all the ruffles and texture that I wanted because I found with the previous shoot that I did, I only had a very simple skirt, and even though there was quite a lot of fabric around it, underwater there is no such a thing as enough fabric. The more fabric you have, the better. I only had my 50mm because I couldn't really rent out a 35 or a 28 or 24, unfortunately. So with that in mind, I knew that it was going to be a bit tricky trying to get kind of full full images and kind of like full body images and so on. But I still managed pretty well, I think. The pool wasn't super big, maybe it was around 4 meters long. So I made sure that the model was kind of, towards the end of the pool and I was at the beginning. Even though, the lens was kind of really close, we still ended up getting some really, really nice images. And there's a few things that you have to keep in mind when you're organizing your own underwater shoot. So as I said, the lens being one thing. Another thing that is very important to remember is that if you're shooting underwater, it's going to be hard for you to stay at the bottom. So it's kind of important for you to maybe try and find a weight or something to kind of keep you down, because usually, you know, I find personally my bum always just like keeps me afloat. So if I go underwater and I have nothing, I'll just end up keep going back up, and then I have to keep diving, and it just gets really, really tiring, and you end up losing the precious maybe 10 or 15 seconds of the model being underwater, because, like, you know, when you're underwater, everything has to happen really, really fast. You can't just, you know, take your time and take 5 minutes to get the shot. You have to go in, dive, take a few photos, you know, the model comes up, and then you go down again, and then you take another few photos. So it's definitely a much faster process. So what we ended up doing, Irene had a little bum bag, and we ended up filling it with stones. So there was small stones around our villa, so we just ended up filling it up with stones, and I put it around my waist. They weren't heavy enough. I wish I had more weight, maybe like a weighted belt and stuff. I know you can get it with some on the diving shops, but it did definitely help to kind of, you know, to kind of keep me grounded. And once I hit the bottom of the floor, I was able to kind of sit down and just do it this way, which was very helpful. So when it comes to the case itself, it's very easily assembled. You can just open here. So all you do is open here, down into this. Very nice. Going up, just press it up like that, and then you pop those guys out there. In here, and you take the back plate off. So this is the back plate, and this is the actual case. So as you see, it's a very simple setup. There isn't really much that comes into it. It also comes with a detachable port, as I said, so you can unscrew it. I have it screwed on very, very tight right now because I only have this one, so I don't need to change it or anything. So as you see, the case itself is very easy to assemble. It literally comes in just 3 pieces, so it's great. I think my biggest concern going into it was that I would assemble something wrong and I would end up drowning my camera. As you can imagine, it is quite stressful considering the price of the camera. So I just knew that, you know, it would be a challenge for sure. But to be honest, it was super easy to assemble. I didn't have any issues whatsoever, so it was great. I ended up using it for maybe 30-40 minutes. Usually before you get into the water, you have to test out the case and make sure that it's sealed properly. So what you do is you put the camera underwater for maybe 10 seconds, you take it out, then you put it in for 15 seconds, take it out, make sure there's no water, and then 20 seconds and take it out and make sure that there's no water again, and this way you know that it's completely sealed. Usually if you're in a pool with especially chlorinated water, it might be quite difficult for you to try and open your eyes, so I got myself a snorkel. You can get the cheap, you know, little goggles that you can put underwater. It's not a problem. I had the full snorkel with the nose piece that I got from a dive shop beforehand. It's just easier because then it protects your nose as well. You just have to make sure that it's properly sealed and it doesn't fog up because it makes it very difficult to see. I ended up taking photos half and half. Half of them I took on my on a live view, and half of them I took on just like normal viewfinder, because sometimes with live view it's a bit slow. You know the way when you use live view, it takes a few seconds for it to like focus and everything, and it's just I didn't really have the time, so just shooting through a viewfinder was a bit quicker. Sometimes it is a bit harder to see through a viewfinder, you know, to kind of make sure that you have the right frame, and some of the photos ended up being cropped in weird places. But you know, again, maybe if I had a 35mm or a 24mm, I would have a bit more room to play around with, and I would have a bit more space. But all in all, I have to say I was really, really delighted with the results. I loved how the ruffles and the pink looked. Towards the end, because we were in the pool, and I think, you know, obviously there were so many people in the pool because I had Irene filming and my other friend filming behind the scenes for me as well. And the clarity wasn't as great. It was quite overcast as well, which wasn't ideal. I would have preferred to have a bit more sun. But you know, I was working with what I had. Big shout out to my friend Chow, who gave me tips on color grading the images from today's shoot. He's an awesome underwater photographer, so make sure to give him a follow on Instagram. I'm so grateful for Aquatech for sending it to me and giving it to me to test out for the last few months. I am so excited to try more stuff with it, to do more cool shoots. I am planning to get more crazy outfits and just throw models into the pool and film it for you guys. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow Aquatech on their social media. They put out some really awesome work by really amazing underwater photographers. And if you did like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.